Hi there, Michelle. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, and you are a national certified forest guide. What does that mean?
Sure, yeah. I'm a registered dietitian like yourself, and I love food, and I love feeding your body with great nutrition. And recently, I've kind of expanded that to the outdoors, and how I feel that being outdoors, that's almost like another form of nutrition, right? Nutrition for the soul, and just helping you mentally and physically. And so I'm sure I was just doing some Google search one day and somehow came across a forest therapy or forest bathing article. And I think I came across a few before I came across the organization here in the States that does a certification for guides to lead these forest therapy walks. And I was like, sounds a little woo-woo, but for me personally, I thought it was kind of amazing. And it sounded like something that I really wanted to do. And whether I did something with that as a guide eventually, or whether it just became just a personal development thing, I was okay with that either way. I really wanted to check this out. And so I signed up, and what it entailed is it's a 6-month program. It starts off with a week-long intensive. So you go somewhere, and I was with about 20 other people, and you spend an entire week together. Most of us stayed like in this just very large house. Like we ate, we slept, we did a lot of it. Like we were best friends by the end. And they, really just give you a lot of history about the origins of forest bathing in Japan in the 1980s. They were having that big technology boom. And at the same time, they started seeing kind of this health crisis. They were seeing an increase in a lot of diseases and stress and that type of thing. People were literally working themselves to death. And they started putting money into some research into different things. And one of those things was the effect of putting people into nature and what kind of effect that had on them. And they found some great things, like being in the forest is actually helpful to your health. And they were able to actually tease out this one chemical, these chemicals called phytoncides that are emitted by trees. And when we inhale those phytoncides, they actually help to boost our immune system by increasing our natural killer cell count. And natural killer cells are those cells that go around your body, searching for weak cells and destroying those cells before they become anything bad. So really good for your immune system. And so we learned about the history, and then we learned about this organization. Amos Clifford is the guy who founded the organization, and he wanted to bring a form of forest therapy to the United States. And, we follow a specific sequence. And it's really, it's to help get people to connect to the outside world, to nature, to themselves, to other people. Just trying to help heal individuals, our culture through that. And, trying to help develop a good relationship with the outdoor world.
I was trying to remind them that I was on a call.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
So there's a great book, isn't there? Have you read that book? Is it by Dr. Lee Sing or
King Lee?
Book, the Japanese doctor?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it was great. And then our founder of Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Programs, Amos Clifford, also he wrote a small little forest bathing book that's really it's really helpful, and has some information in there to help people if they want to kind of go out on their own walks.
Oh, I should send me the link to that.
I sure will. I will do that.
That book particularly was very easy to read.
Right.
Talked about all the science that you just talked about, and he did all that research in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He is the researcher, right?
Correct.
And then he gave a lot of practical suggestions on how you can do it. Like, you don't have to go to a national park,
right,
or go to Japan. You can literally find the piece of nature in your city park or your backyard or under a tree So maybe
Absolutely.
give some tips to speak to that, how especially things are getting better now, like people are able to leave their homes now, but for maybe right now during the coronavirus pandemic, staying local to home is easier.
Correct, correct. So, if you are able to get outside, you could find nature in your yard usually. Usually there's some grass somewhere, or a leaf, or a tree or a shrub or something that you can find. And if you're outside, there's sunlight, there's a sky that you can look up to, there's wind blowing, there's a ton of nature surrounding you as soon as you walk outside your door. For some reason you can't get outside of your home and you have a window, you can look out of a window, and same thing, you can look out and see the sunlight, the sky, possibly some trees or a bird flying by. So, there's some nature that you can locate out of your window. And I mean, in your home, hopefully you might have a plant, and if not, you should get one. And
Love you.
one little plant. And then even think about like the food in your fridge. That's nature. Those
Yeah.
vegetables and fruits came from somewhere. So, and then, if you really want to use your imagination a little bit, you can think about the things in your house. I mean, everything's made from nature, right? So, this wood desk that I'm sitting at, my wood cutting boards and frames, this is stuff that's all made from nature. And so it's kind of becomes a fun little hunt to find a little piece of nature and to connect to it.
And one thing I came across as I was reading is the idea of invitations, which was a unique concept to me. But sometimes I feel, even with meditation, if I was going to do meditation, I always look for guided meditation. That's why I love the idea of the guides.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you looking for, Roshan? Just leave me for 5 minutes, please. This is life. This will be recorded in all its beauty.
Yes. This is nature happening right now. You can't control it. It surprises you.
Yeah, that's right. Like the weather.
Right.
Especially as a Brit.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in the States many, many years, but when you grow up in the UK, our weather is very changeable. Mm-hmm. So when it is nice and sunny, you get out and enjoy it.
Quickly, yeah.
But I like the fact that the teachers used to be more spontaneous. Anyways, talk about invitations.
Sure. Yes, invitations are great, and that's exactly what they are. They're an invitation. It's not an assignment. So, when we give out an invitation during a walk, I feel like that's really helpful in not pressuring people that they have to do a certain thing. Like, it's kind of a, hey, this is what we're suggesting, and there's a million ways to do that thing. So you go out and you do it the way you want to do it. And, and sometimes people will look at you, well, how is that? How do I do it? And it's like, there's no wrong way. There's no wrong answer. Whatever you do, that's going to be the right thing for you to do on that particular day. And for each person, that's a different thing. And, as a guide, our job, our role is to create a space for people to have their experience. The saying of our organization is, the forest is the therapist and the guide opens the doors. So that's what we're there, just there to open the door. And what you do after that is completely up to you. And it's perfectly right for you at that particular time. And so as we're opening these doors, as we're just kind of providing this space, we give out these different invitations, and and they're meant to be very open so that people can take them in many different ways. So for example, an invitation may sound something like, wander out and listen to the sounds of this place. And that's that. I wonder what things you might hear. I wonder how many sounds you'll hear. And, so for 15 minutes, you're going to go do that. And so each person may take that a slightly different way. They may wander, they may sit, they may decide they want to look at things instead, or smell things, or they'll start hearing things. And I think as you spend all this time sitting in these invitations and really focusing on them, you start to notice more things than you normally would, because you're slowing down and you're spending a whole lot of time doing one thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it brings in mindfulness,
Correct. Yeah.
which so many of us actually maybe have we connected to in the stay at home, because
hmm
we've been suddenly forced to stop very abruptly, which is
Right.
quite difficult, but maybe we needed it a little bit as a world. Maybe not in this way, but
Right. Right. Yes.
there is learning to be had. But just as you say, to notice the, the, the sunlight through the trees, the
Mhm.
clouds moving, the birds singing, and just to slow down and appreciate the little gifts that nature gives us that we take for granted.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like, a lot of us don't realize the importance of working that noticing muscle. Because I feel as you continue the practice of noticing things that you wouldn't normally notice, it really helps you in a million different areas of your life. Like things like your relationships. Maybe you'll notice things that you didn't notice before. Like just little nuances, maybe in the way someone acts, and it causes you to ask them something, and then they're like, oh, this person cares about me because they noticed this. Maybe you're at work, and at work you notice something about I don't know, some kind of problem that's going on that maybe it saves some money to somebody, and then your boss is like, yay. But just there's so many things being learning again to listen to your body and noticing things about your body that can be really helpful to your health and well-being. So yeah, I think it's so important to exercise that noticing muscle, and you do a lot of that in forest bathing walks.
That's nice. I like that, noticing myself. And I
hmm
think it could tie over really nicely into nutrition,
Oh, for sure.
mindful or intuitive eating. I think there's some overlap there.
Oh,
What do
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
think?
Yes, I had a coach ask me once. We were on a walk, and he asked some sort of simple question, like, if you could have any kind of business or whatever, what would it be? What would you call it? And I was like, well, I'm not super creative, so I don't have a great creative name, but it would be like nature and nutrition, or nutrition and nature. Like those are my two loves, and I feel like they're extremely interconnected because nutrition, food, comes from nature. So it's all
I'm going to
nature.
walk this outside.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I don't know how loud the side of the TV is,
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I don't hear it, but it's cool.
despite asking not to.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
And here you go. I'm going to bring you out into nature and you'll hear the birds.
Oh my God, how pretty.
I should have done this in the first place.
Yes, that's a great background.
Now let's just listen to the birds.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, I wish my connection was better. I would do the same thing, but my
Yeah,
connection.
I just got a notification, unstable connection.
Yeah.
But I love that segue into the noticing,
hmm
and I think a lot of people have, especially if they've had a history of dieting or meal plans, they forgot how to notice their hunger and fullness cues, or pausing to enjoy food.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
often we hear people, they eat because they're supposed to eat, or they've kind of lost that zest for good
hmm
nutrition and enjoyment, and that mindfulness and fun aspect. Have you noticed
Absolutely.
that?
Oh, absolutely. And before all this stuff happened, we're sitting, we're stuck at home. When people are rushing from place to place, I mean, that's what most people's lives become, is it's planned eating. You're not listening to your body anymore. Like you're listening to, I better hurry up and eat now because I'm not going to eat later, and so I'm just going to stuff myself. So as far as listening to hunger and fullness cues, people weren't doing that anymore. And so of course there's issues where people are overeating or undereating, and causing a lot of other issues and a lot of mental stress on top of it. And so there's another great thing about being at home a lot now and not having to rush around, is maybe people can start to practice listening to their bodies a little bit more. And I know personally, I have competed in a couple of bodybuilding competitions. And when you do something like that, you definitely go on some sort of diet, and you do plan your meals. And they are planned at very specific hours with very specific things that you eat. And you always are excited to eat because you're waiting for your next meal. And you know that I did it. It was done, and crossed that off the list. And now it's funny that I couldn't plan a meal if I tried, as far as like, you know, being on some rigid schedule, because I have gotten into this point where I'm so kind of in tune to my hunger and my fullness, and I eat when I'm hungry, and then I stop, and then I'll eat again. And if that means I eat 7 times one day and 3 times the next, that's just what it is. And you know, I think, you know, as you start to be able to listen to your body, that you can appreciate what you're feeling. You know, I'm doing this thing right now where I'm trying to not eat as much sugar as normal, because anyone who knows me knows that I eat a lot of sugar. And I was sitting there last night after dinner, and I had a very strong urge for dessert. I had a strong urge for dessert, and but it was just, and you know, I didn't stress about it. I didn't fret whether I was going to have it or not. I was kind of enjoying just listening to my body and understanding what was going on. And it was interesting. I was like, wow, I'm full right now. Like, I'm full. I am actually full of food, but yet something in my body is telling me that I need sweets. And I just thought it was interesting, and I just kind of sat there with it. And I kind of talked to my husband about it for a little bit, and then it went away. And then I went and I got distracted by something else. But, you know, it was noticing and being okay with it, kind of sitting with it. Like, all right, what are you going to do with it? Well, I'm going to get distracted. So I guess I'm not going to do anything with it. So it's
And
nice
just
to be able to do that.
noticing with no judgment.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It was, you
So,
know,
and
you
that's the to me, that's the most powerful thing about being in nature. Nature doesn't judge you. Like
mm-mm,
when you're in the woods, oh, you're in the woods, like the trees accept you, the
mm-hmm.
birds get out, all the insects and the bees and the butterflies, they're just getting about their business.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's a wonderful place that you can just
Right.
just be. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in today's fast-paced life with a lot of stresses, we need ways to cope with stress. And I feel like this is like the most amazing free therapy which you can just turn to in times of stress, just to give, especially now as the world collectively is going through such a difficult time. If we just allow it, nature can help us get through and give us the hope that it's still, spring is still happening. The leaves are all green around me now. The flowers are blooming. The birds are building their nests. The bees are coming and feeding. That it's going on, and it will
Mm-hmm.
still be there. The other side of this, it's still here.
Right, right. And then thinking about, you know, fostering that relationship with the natural world around you, because we are such social creatures. And so while a lot of us may be, you know, at home, or we have to stay 6 feet away from everybody, and we're losing a little, well, a lot of that social connection, we can still connect to nature, and that's another relationship. And so I think that, you know, as far as mental health goes, that going out there and fostering that relationship with, you know, your favorite tree outside, or the birds that come hang out by your house, or, you know, caterpillars, or whatever it is you enjoy, that's really important.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. Maybe if you've done like, I know maybe you could do some more virtual stuff and we could share it. I know
Yeah.
I did see you doing some things on Instagram stories.
Mhm, yeah, I was
But
kind of filming parts of my walks, yeah.
maybe do keep doing that. Maybe give people like some very simple things like sitting under a tree in their yard, or I always talk about listening to the birds, because I feel like wherever you are, you can normally tune into the sound of the birds. They will,
Yeah,
it's like a constant, unless maybe you're in the middle of Manhattan or something. That might
right.
happen. Central Park, you'll find them. They're still there somewhere.
For sure, yeah.
So maybe give some people some prompts, and we can try and encourage people to give it a try and let us know how they get on.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I'll definitely do that.
But thank you so much. And I honestly love the work you're doing. I think it's so needed. Um, and just, yeah, just keep on sharing and giving people ideas. Maybe you could do a virtual thing using Zoom or any kind of other thing, and people could call in and you
I
could
know,
facilitate.
yeah. I've definitely considered that. For me, it's just a connection issue, so I just got to figure out how to.
Oh, I see. When you get out there, then the signal's not good. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not an easy fix for that one.
No. Oh, how I wish. I know.
I started that hashtag. You could use that or start something similar, that anchored natured moment. I
Uh-huh.
had that idea of just going on Instagram or different places and trying to find people's posts from around the world. Like it could be a
Oh,
field of
yeah.
wildflowers, or a view of mountains or the babbling creeks, and trying
Mhm.
to reshare them in the
Yeah,
hope that if people want a meditative prompt, they could just watch those things, or just maybe you could record things and upload them. And
right, right. And I forget, yeah, and I think about those things that you can save on Instagram. I don't even know what they're called, your stories. So I guess I could like kind of categorize some different things maybe and try that.
just some ideas.
Yeah, yeah,
People
definitely.
need nature.
Yeah.
And as I say, plants, just
Yeah.
growing things and watching them bloom. My
Mhm.
daughter's, we found a little acorn in one of the raised beds. So she's planted this, I don't know. We have this idea, oh, it'd be cool, we could have a bonsai, but you need lots of training to really do that. But still, she's still loving this
That's
little
awesome.
baby oak tree right now.
Oh, that's so cool. I love
My whole house is full of plants, and then the yard is full of plants. But yeah, I don't
I
think
love
we have
it.
enough of them. But it can be that simple.
Yeah, yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah.
And again, such a lovely crossover you have with nutrition. The way we care for plants and nature, we should care for ourselves the same way. We need good nutrition, need watering, we need
Absolutely.
sunlight. I mean, it's all.
Right. And then having that close relationship with nature helps you to create that closer relationship with the food you eat, because a lot of people, I think they absolutely lose that relationship. Food comes from a store, I eat it, and there's not much more than that. But kind of like really thinking about where your food comes from, the care and the time that it takes to produce it, and how, it's all energy from the sun. Like that's our food. That's what we're fed with. That's what keeps us alive. Like the sun is like kind of
Yeah,
responsible.
that's yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love your energy and how you found your passion.
Thank you.
That's really cool. So keep sharing, and I'll keep promoting the cool stuff you're doing.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Rebecca, for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I, so I'm gonna try and